Good evening, children. Just due to the breakage of the link, a barrier was created. So now let's move to the other point. My point is, I was talking about the word preamble. As you all know, preamble is the introductory statement. Preamble is the introductory statement. In a constitution which states the reason and guiding values of the constitution. Next word is sovereign. Now, what is the meaning of the word sovereign? The word sovereign means that people have the supreme right to make decisions on internal as well as external matters. Now the next point is secular. Now you all would be knowing the meaning of the word secular. The word secular means that citizens have complete freedom to follow any religion. My next word is democracy. Now, what is the meaning of the word democracy? Now, okay, you all can tell me the meaning of the word democracy. Can anyone tell me that what do you mean by democracy? Yes, anyone of you type the answer? Democracy. Yes, children. What is the meaning of democracy? See, in simple words, democracy is a form of government in which the government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Government of the, by the, and for the people. That is known as democracy. Now the next word is republic. Now what's the meaning of the word republic? See, in India we are having republic. See, republic means the head of the nations. The head of the nations. It means that for the head of the state is an elected person and not a hereditary form of government. That is republican. In India you can say that after every 5 years we people have the elections and each year a new person is being selected. So that's not hereditary. That is the meaning of the word republic. Now the next point is fraternity. Fraternity, it refers to the feeling of brotherhood and a sense of belonging with the country among its people. That is known as fraternity. Now the next point. See, the next point is liberty or fraternity. Firstly, again I should explain. Fraternity, it refers to a feeling of brotherhood and a sense of belonging with the country among its people. Now the next point is liberty. Now what is liberty? Liberty, it says that there are no unreasonable restrictions on the citizens in which they think, how they wish to express their thoughts and the way they wish to follow up their thoughts in actions. Now children, I am going to tell you about my next point, that is democratic constitution in South Africa. But before that, let's talk a bit about two more points. See, there are certain basic rules that the citizens and the government have to follow. All such rules and regulations, all such kind of rules and regulations are called constitution. As the supreme law of the country, the constitution determines the rights of citizens, the power of the government, and how the government should function. So all these points are there. So now let's move again to the main point, that is democratic constitution in South Africa. See, if I talk about South Africa and if I don't talk about Nelson Mandela, then the theory is wrong. See, Nelson Mandela was tried for treason by the white South African government. The white Europeans imposed apartheid. You can call it apartheid, or you can call it as racial discrimination between the white and the black. As you know, children, that in Africa, who were more in number? Who were more in number, the blackish or the whitish? Just send me the answer fast. Who were more in number, the blackish or the whitish? I tell you, in number, if I talk about, the blackish were more. The majority was of the blackish and the minority was of the whitish. But the minority was ruling over the majority. See, the system of apartheid divided the people of South Africa on the basis of their skin color. The local population was called blacks. Mixed race of people was called colored. All non-whites were treated as inferior and did not have the right to vote. See, in Africa, the majority was not having the right to vote, means they were not supposed to enjoy the fundamental rights. Whereas on the contrary, the minority means your whitish, the minority was having all the rights, means either to vote, to become a representative, or to contest during the elections. The whitish were having all the rights. They can enjoy the fundamental rights. But the blackish were not. The African National Congress, in short we call it as ANC, the African National Congress led the struggle against the policies of segregation. And at the midnight of 26th April 1994, the new national flag of the Republic of South Africa was unfurled. It marked the end of apartheid government. Remember that in the year 1994, this apartheid government was removed by the ANC. ANC was the African National Congress. The party which ruled through oppression and brutal killings, and the party that led the freedom struggle, set together to draw up a common constitution. The South African Constitution inspires Democrats all over the world. देखो जहाँ पे जब माइनॉरिटी रूल कर रही थी मेजॉरिटी के ऊपर, जब ये बदलाव अफ्रीका में आ सकता है, तो it brought a very positive effect in the entire parts of the world. This constitution gave its citizens the most extensive rights available in any country. Now children, let's move to the other content, that is, एक अगला सवाल उठता है कि हमें संविधान चाहिए क्यों होता है? Why do we need a constitution? See, in the beginning only I have told you the definition. Constitution is a set of written rules that are accepted by the people living in a country. It determines the relationship among people living in a territory and the relationship between people and the government. These rules are these rules also determine what the elected government are empowered to do and what they cannot do. These rules decide the rights of the citizens. A constitution generates a constitution generates a degree of trust and coordination. जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन होता है लोगों में एक विश्वास और एक कोऑर्डिनेशन क्रिएट कर देता है. इट स्पेसिफाइज हाउ द गवर्नमेंट विल बी कॉन्स्टिट्यूटेड. इट लेज डाउन लिमिट्स. सरकार पे एक तरीके से बैरियर लग जाता है दैट इन व्हाट मैनर इट लेज डाउन सर्टेन लिमिट्स ऑन द पावर्स ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट and it expresses the aspirations of the people about creating a good society. The next point is all countries that have constitution are not necessarily democratic. जरूरी नहीं कि जितने भी देशों में संविधान है वहाँ हर जगह डेमोक्रेसी है. But all countries that are democratic will have constitution. लेकिन जितने भी देश डेमोक्रेटिक हैं उन सब में कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन होता है. See, let's talk about the other point. Let's talk about how the Constitution of India was framed or making of the Indian Constitution. Our national movement was not merely a struggle against a foreign rule. It was also a struggle to rejuvenate our country and to transform our society and politics. See, in the year 1928, Motilal Nehru and 8 other Congress leaders drafted a constitution for India. Along with Motilal Nehru, 8 other leaders इन्होंने भारत के लिए constitution draft किया. In 1931, the resolution at Karachi session of the Indian Congress dwell on how the constitution should look like. और ये कराची में डिसाइड किया गया 1931 में कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन हमारा कैसा होना चाहिए, कैसा दिखना चाहिए. Both these documents were committed to inclusion of universal adult franchise, right to freedom and equality, and protecting the rights of the minorities in the Constitution of Independent India. भारत के संविधान में अगर हम देखें तो चाहे वो माइनॉरिटी हो, चाहे मेजॉरिटी हो, चाहे ओबीसी हो, एससी हो, एसटी हो, जनरल, एनीवन, all the people are equal in the sense of that all the people can enjoy the fundamental rights. All can be a representative or a elector in the terms of the framing of the constitution. अगर हमारी पोस्ट देखी जाए प्रधानमंत्री की, we talk about the post of the prime minister, president, governor, vice president, we can see a huge category, a huge classification, means different caste communities, different castes have ruled. So Indian constitution adopted many institutional details and procedures from colonial laws like the Government of India Act 1935. Then the next point is the Constituent Assembly. If I talk about Constituent Assembly, see, elections to the Constituent Assembly were held in July 1946. Or and its first meeting, जो पहली मीटिंग हुई थी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली की, that had taken place in December 1946. ICSE वाले बच्चों को याद होगा that you have studied this chapter in class 9th, first chapter जो था. The Constituent Assembly that wrote the Indian Constitution had 299 members. इसमें टोटल कितने मेंबर्स थे? 299 जिन्होंने भारत का संविधान लिखा था. The Constituent Assembly was dominated by the Indian National Congress. It had many members. इसके कई सारे members थे who did not agree with the Congress. जो कांग्रेस को एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर रहे थे, इनके प्रपोजल से एक्सेप्टेड नहीं थे. The Constituent Assembly worked in a systematic, open and consensual manner. Some basic principles were decided. कुछ basic principles जो सभी caste communities के लिए थे वो decide किया गया. A drafting committee chaired by a drafting committee, the chairperson was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, prepared a draft constitution for discussion. After several rounds of discussions, कई सारे इसके discussions हुए, कई round हुए discussions के, more than 2000 amendments were considered. Just think कि आपने कोई planning करी, उसमें 2000 changes या बदलाव हुए थे. Means this drafting committee did a very respective and a very tough task during that time in framing the Constitution of India. Every document presented and every word spoken in the Constituent Assembly has been recorded and preserved and is called the Constituent Assembly, or you can say it as a Constituent Assembly debate. वहाँ पे जो debates हुई थी amendments में, उस सबका recording रखा गया है, and that is known as Constituent Assembly debates. These debates provides the rationale behind every provision of the Constitution and are used to interpret the meaning of the Constitution. The Assembly adopted the Constitution on 26th November 1949. Remember this date, 26th November 1949. The Assembly adopted the Constitution. It came into effect on 26th January 1950. Remember the date, children? The Assembly adopted Constitution on 26th November 1949. And my question is, when did the Constitution of India came into effect? Send your answers. When did the Constitution of India came into effect? Send me your answers fast, and all the children should send the answer. It should not happen only one child is sending. Yes, I am waiting for your answer. Send it fast. Pushpendra, Khushi, Parul, Saurabh Shukla. Okay. So now, yes, the answer is correct. Malay Mishra, good. Correct answer. That is, the Constitution of India came into effect on 26 Jan 1950. There has been no question of legitimacy of the Constitution. Also, the Constituent Assembly represented the people of India. The manner in which the Constituent Assembly worked gave sanctity to the Constitution. All these reasons together made the Constitution more acceptable. Now let's move to the other point, that is guiding values of the Indian Constitution. See, during that time the main hero or the main person of India was Mahatma Gandhi. And the other important point, Mahatma Gandhi was not a member of the Constituent Assembly. Either if I talk about Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Dr. Sachidanand Sinha, all these members, they were of the Constituent Assembly, but except Mahatma Gandhi. Values that inspired and guided the freedom struggle formed the foundation for India's democracy. These values are embedded. ये जो इनकी values थी, ये सारी values को किस में add कर दिया गया? That is in the preamble. These values are embedded in the preamble of the Indian Constitution. हम लोग उसको short में ये भी कहते हैं that preamble is the introductory part of the Constitution. It means that कि जो हमारा जैसे book, when we open the chapter, when we open the book, we see the index, and by the index we can come to know that which chapters are in our syllabus. In the same manner, if we just see the preamble, by that we can recognize the contents of our Constitution. They guide all articles of the Indian Constitution. The preamble of the Constitution contains the philosophy on which the entire Constitution has been built. It is the soul of the Indian Constitution. It provides a standard to examine and evaluate any law and action of government. Now, my other point is institutional design. So children, a constitution is not merely a statement of value and philosophy. Constitution का सिर्फ ये मतलब नहीं होता कि आपने कोई statement बोल दिया उसमें value और philosophy है. It needs to be amended quite regularly to keep it updated. As you update your phone, as you update your softwares, in the same manner, the Constitution of India or every constitution needs amendment quite regularly so that it can be kept updated. Now, what is the meaning of the word amendment? The word amendment means to bring some changes, to add on some changes in the Constitution. The makers made provisions to incorporate changes from time to time. The Constitution describes the institutional arrangements in a very legal language. The Constitution describes, as I told you, in a very legal language means that words are to the point. By reading those points, you can estimate what the person wants to convey. Indian Constitution lays down a procedure for choosing persons to govern the country. देखो जैसे हम लोग के यहाँ चुनाव होते हैं, elections take place, and with the method of that only, with the procedure of elections, our government is formed. It defines who will have how much power to take which decisions. देखो हमारे यहाँ in India we get the president, prime minister, vice president, all these candidates, the executive ones, and all these people have been declared that what kind of powers they are having, what kind of decisions, what kind of duties they have to perform. Now the important point, see these constitution, this particular constitution points, it puts a limit, it put limits to what the government can do by providing some rights to the citizens that cannot be violated. Means एक तरह का ये लोग बाउंडेशन क्रिएट कर देते हैं गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर कि वो लोग कुछ भी नया नहीं कर सकते हैं. So that kind of conditions are there. Now children, it's turn for the MCQ. Yes, children, ready for the questions? Okay, now let's move to the questions. My first question, as you can see, as the supreme law of the country, the Constitution determines option A, the rights of the citizens, the powers of the government, how the government should function, how the country should progress. And we have to choose the correct option. Options are in front of you. Just mention the answer. Okay. Yes, children. Correct answer. Yes, that's the correct answer. Option C or option 3 you can say. Option 3 or C. As the supreme law of the country, the Constitution determines the rights of citizens, the powers of the government, and how the government should function. Now, the next question, question number 2. Question 2 is, Nelson Mandela was imprisoned in 1964 and spent the next 26 years in prison. In which of the following prison he was kept? The options are Robben Island, option 2, Portsmouth Prison, option 3, Drakenstein Correctional Center, and option 4, Old Gown Building. What's the answer? Yes, that's the correct answer. The correct answer is option 1. See, Nelson Mandela was imprisoned in 1964 and spent the next 28 years in Robben Island prison. Now see the third question. The third question is, which of the following umbrella organization led the struggle against the policies of segregation in South Africa? Option Congress of the People, AGAN South Africa, African People's Convention, or option D, African National Congress. What's the correct answer? Yes, very good children. Those who are sending the answers are correct. Good. Parul, Malay, Anirudh, Priya, Satendra Avasthi. Good. See, African National Congress. African National Congress was the umbrella organization which led the struggle against the policies of segregation. It included many workers, union, and the Communist Party. Now the fourth question, the unfurling of new national flag marked the birth of Republic of South Africa? This was done on the midnight of, tell me the date. Option 1, 26th November 1994. Option 2, 26th May 1985. Option 3, 15 June 1994. And option 4, 22nd July 1986. As children, you have sent the right answer, and the right answer is first option, 26th April 1984. The unfurling of the new national flag marked the birth of Republic of South Africa. This was done on the midnight of 26th April 1994. Now the next question. After the emergence, after the emergence of new democratic South Africa, the black leaders told fellow blacks to build a new South Africa on. Options are option 1, equality for all, abolishing poverty and industrialization. Then option 2, voting rights for all, social justice and human rights. Option 3, equality for all, democratic values, social justice and human rights. And option 4, equality for all, voting rights to all and social justice. So what should be the answer for the fifth question? Just think and then give the answer. Priya, think and then give the answer. Don't be in a haste. Parul, Sahu, think and then give the answer. Yes, children, the correct answer is option C. Option C, or a third. 3 is the right answer. After the emergence of new democratic South Africa, after the emergence of new democratic South Africa, the black leaders told fellow blacks to build a new South Africa on equality for all, democratic values, social justice and human rights. Now the last question for today, question number 6, see to it. After long negotiations, South African blacks and whites agreed to compromise. Which of the following things were agreed to by the whites? Options: they agreed to accept some basic rights for the poor and the workers. Option 2, they agreed to the principle of majority rule and of one person, one vote. They agreed that majority rule would not be absolute. Option 4, they agreed that majority will not take away the property of the minority. Now you have to tell me the option. Which is the correct option? 1, 2, 3 or 4? Okay children, for this the correct option is option 1. The whites agreed. Correct option is 1. The whites agreed to accept some basic rights for the poor and the workers, and to the principle of majority rule and of one person and one vote. So the first option is correct. So that's all for today, children. We'll be doing